So, folks, this is Jonah Allen from the Brooklyn Borough President's Office. We want to thank you for joining us today um, as we highlight local manufacturers making a difference here in the borough. The way we are going to do this is just going to give a brief sort of overview and some housekeeping. After that, we're going to turn it over to the borough president for some opening remarks, and then over to some of these manufacturers in the borough who are doing some great work to say a few words. Finally, we will turn it over to Joanne, who's in Sunset Park, who will give us a brief virtual tour of her factory where they're manufacturing cloth masks. And then we'll take questions from the press. You are all going to be unmuted until I mute, or rather muted until I unmute you. So just bear with me. But with that, we're going to turn it over to Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams.
Thank you, Jonah, and I really thank many of the local mask manufacturers that are part of this call. For some time now, prior to the governor's call for everyone in the city and state to wear a mask, we've had some local manufacturers that have produced masks. Many of them noticed that as my office and my volunteers have been moving around the city, reached out to us and stated that they want to help. And in return, I had different of their masks that I wore throughout my delivering of supplies, food, masks to NYCHA residents, food to hospitals, N95 masks to hospitals, our transit employees. And when the call came out that the governor and the mayor called for everyone in the city to wear a mask, we found it as appropriate to reach out to these local manufacturers right here in the city. One tour we're going to see in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, to be part of solving the problem of face covering, but also as an economic development tool. So we're going to ask the mayor and the city and the governor's office to produce small grants that allow these local manufacturers to hire locally and to produce a good quality product right here in the city. We should not have to order masks from outside the city while we're going through this economic challenge and this health challenge. Both our economy is dealing with a financial issue, and our health crisis is dealing with the health issues. And here's a way that we can address both. So this is a win-win. The masks are really convenient to wear. They're reusable. Many of them you can put into the washing machine and reuse over. Again, they're extremely helpful as people take the transportation system, as people move throughout the city and state. Having a New York made product to recirculate the money in the city, hire people in the city and state, and follow through on the mayor's and the governor's, both the governor's executive order and the mayor's order for everyone to cover their faces as they move around. If we want to flatten the curve, we need to also flatten the unemployment numbers, and at the same time, get as many masks as possible into everyday communities. The factory we're going to highlight today is in the Sunset Park area. It's an area where we have issues around employment, a large immigrant population, a large number of people are going to be looking for employment. And some of the other vendors that we have here are small entrepreneurs working out of their home, producing a quality product, and answering the call to ensure that New Yorkers remain as healthy as possible as we attempt to not only to flatten the curve, but to remove the curve altogether. So it is imperative that the state and city participate by giving small grants, a $10,000, $1,000 grant to one of these local manufacturers can go a long way in purchasing material here in New York City, and also starting the process of hiring locally. We also want to make and reach out to the governor as he transitioned to open the economy again. One of the most important areas we could open our fabric stores. I'm hearing from my local manufacturers the difficulty of actually getting the material and the fabric. So the fabric stores should be an essential business that we need to open to allow the products to be made in the city on the whole. And by opening these fabric stores, putting them on the list as an essential businesses to open, it allows these small manufacturers to actually get the material that they need. And again, I want to thank the 4 manufacturers that we have. They have been doing this production from small factories in their homes, but their goal is to find the balance of making our city and state healthy again and ensuring that our economy is healthy again. I wear the mask. I feel extremely comfortable with the masks that were given to me, and it's doing a great job in ensuring that I am not passing germs and I am not having germs passed on me, and that's the goal. So with the executive order of every New Yorker wear mask, that executive order should come with some economic stimulus of local and small manufacturers so they can hire locally and produce a product right here in the city that every New Yorker can wear. We have over 8 million New Yorkers in the city of New York. Those 8 million New Yorkers purchasing a New York-made product can infuse revenue in the city and could help out to stimulate our economy. This is not going to get in the way of what we're going to continue to do to give out free masks to those who cannot afford to pay for masks. We're going to continue our initiative, our NYCHA project. Today, we're going to give out a couple of thousand masks to NYCHA residents, and we're going to also continue to do this in the next few days. We want to give out approximately 20 to 25,000 masks to NYCHA residents, what we believe is ground zero for those with pre-existing conditions. But again, there are 8 million New Yorkers in the city. There's a great economic opportunity for these local vendors to get off the ground and start producing a New York-made product. We need the help from the city and the state. So with every executive order should come the executive decision of putting resources via small grants into these local businesses. And again, I thank them for what they have done, what they are doing now, and what they will continue to do to get and see the entire city and state through this crisis. We will get through this together by ensuring that we lift up each other together. Thank you very much, Jonah.
Thank you, Borough President. We appreciate that. Next, we're going to hear from Matt Silver at Debrief Me. Following that, we're going to turn it over to Joanne, who is in the Sunset Park factory, who can give us a brief little tour of the masks being manufactured there. But first, to Matt.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Borough President Adams. We are very excited to be manufacturing here in Brooklyn. We just moved our production from China here to Brooklyn. We are the global leader in washable, reusable masks. We actually have a higher level mask we sell. We've been doing this before this happened. We sell filtered masks. We have a children's masks. We have a regular face mask over here. And we're here to help bring jobs back to Brooklyn. We're in a woman-owned factory, which we're contracted out here in Bush Terminal. We're looking. Our factory here our office is in Industry City, and we're looking at space now over at the Brooklyn Army Terminal. And we're really excited, and we're looking to be a big part of the solution by not just providing a solution to get us out of this, but hopefully bringing jobs back to the city, because at the end of the day, it's not about who has the most acorns, it's about bringing jobs back to our people in need, and that's how we're going to come out of this. And are available at debriefme.com. And for all our fellow New Yorkers, we have a discount for 20% if you use a discount code NYC20. That's a 20% discount to get off our masks. And Borough President Adams, we want to work with you with donating masks to whatever you need. We're here to support, and we'd like to make a donation. As I told your people, we're here to help, and we want to be part of this solution.
Thank you, Matt. At this time, we're going to go over to Joanne, who is actually in that Sunset Park factory. And Joanne, if you could just give us a brief glimpse into what's happening at your factory and some of the work that's going on, we would really appreciate it.
So at this moment, you know, we are located in Brooklyn, the Sunset Park area. We are a manufacturer. At this moment, our workforce is largely impacted by what's going on in the current crisis, mainly due to there's a lot of fear, and as well as the public transportation and everything. We are doing our best to, you know, keep on making essential products, items such as masks and such, with the limited amount of workforce that we do currently have here. I'm happy to give you guys a quick tour of what's going on and, you know, what we're doing here to help the current crisis. So if you don't mind giving me just 1 second, I'll be happy to show you everything that's going on. Hold on.
Thank you, Joanne.
At this moment, we are practicing social distance, so everybody is set far apart. Like I said, we do have a limited amount of workforce at this moment, so you know, it is not at full capacity. Here's our factory. As you can see, you know, there are a lot of things that would have been going on if it wasn't for what's the current crisis. We are making masks, you know, items such as these and such. So every day we're just pumping out as much as possible, you know, again, with whatever workforce that we can have, and things can change on a daily basis due to what's going on. But this is the factory, and there are, you know, a few people working, and we are currently doing carpool with everyone so that we try to get as many people in as possible during the current situation. There's the mask that we're making for Matt. And, you know, there are people that are here. So everyone's just doing their best to help out with what's going on, everything that's going on here. And like I said, we are largely impacted by the current situation. So, you know, not as much as we hope we could do for everyone. But, you know, everything is, we are only down to about maybe 15-20% of our workforce, you know, so it's sad that this is largely impacted, and many other manufacturers are same thing. They are impacted hugely by what's going on. You know, we are connecting with everyone around, including manufacturers from Bronx and everything. If there is anything that they cannot handle and we have the ability to help them, we do that. And again, everyone right now in the fashion industry are trying to push out masks and do their best to really help with the current crisis. And I hope every effort that everyone makes, you know, will help with what's going on. And we really do appreciate everything that you guys are doing as well to help everything that's going on too.
Thank you, Joanne. We really appreciate that. And folks in the press, if you have any questions, you can feel free to raise your hand. But we're going to continue going through the speaking order. At this time, we are going to hear from Zam Barrett with Z Factory. Zam, go ahead.
Good morning. First of all, let me thank the Borough President for his endeavors in trying to make this possible. Really appreciate it. We've been making masks for about 6-7 weeks now, at the time when everybody was laughing at us and thinking that this day was not going to come. But I was looking at all of the data and all of the science, and I knew that we would get to a point where everyone would have to wear masks. So we had prepared ourselves. We bought a lot of supplies, a lot of fabric. I hired 3 new people by faith. We didn't have the money to do it, but I knew we were going to do it. We've been distributing masks to postal workers, to UPS drivers, to FedEx, to NYPD officers, to nurses. We have a big donation that we should have made from last week. We're going to do it tomorrow to Downstate Medical Center. And we've been just trying our best to help everybody. Our pledge was that for every 500 masks we make, we would sell 300 to the public, and we would donate 200 to essential workers who needed them. So we also had designed an N95 face cover. What it actually does is that you can take an N95 and you can insert it into the mask and wear it. Let me try to put it on for you. Like this. So what it does is that it extends the use life of an N95 mask for like medical workers, nurses, doctors, and people like those who there's a huge shortage of those, to the point where now there's a company sanitizing them. We had developed from very early on a protector that would allow for you to protect it from getting dirty and from getting soiled. And our face cover, or N95 cover, is washable and reusable. So we have a number of different types of mask design. We have a VP1, which is basically a mask with polypropylene built in on the inside. Polypropylene is the same kind of material that is used to make an N95 mask. So this is a self-filtering mask. It's not just cloth that you make into the shape of a mask. It's a mask that is actually self-filtering. So it does have some protective properties built into it. And we've been doing these for 7 weeks now. And of course, we would like to do more. So if we could partner with the government, or if there are grants available, like we have tons of material. I had invested basically almost all of my money I had in getting supplies. So right now, when we have people who are looking to get supplies, I just heard BP Adams suggest a very good idea, which is to make the fabric stores an essential business. That's a good idea, because a lot of my friends who would like to do this are having issues now where they are short on supplies and they don't know where to go. But we had known that this day would come, and we had stocked up on a lot of material, fusings, interlinings, fabrics, so that we would be able to do this. So we are fully operational, and we have created basically 3 new jobs where we've hired people to work, and we're happy we're able to do that. And we're just trying to play our part in terms of keeping our fellow New Yorkers safe, our families safe. We just got a huge order from Fort Bragg for soldiers, and we're looking at just trying to play our part as a New York company in keeping everybody safe. We got a call from Rikers Island. I mean, they never confirmed anything, but at least they called us inquiring if they could get masks from us. So we're basically ready and doing what we can. You know, we have equipment. We're willing to upscale more to produce more masks to keep our fellow citizens safe.
And Zam, if you didn't mention it, can you tell us about where you're operating right now?
Oh, we're in Bushwick. We used to be in Sunset Park. I was one of the first tenants in Sunset Park in 2010 before they built up, but unfortunately the rent got too expensive and I moved to Bushwick. So we're on Wilson Avenue, 438 Wilson Avenue. We have a web shop called 5M Mask, where people can go, and we encourage people to go to the web shop because it's a good way of social distancing. We ship 2 times per day. Every day we're shipping. The postman comes in the morning and in the evening to pick up whatever orders we have ready to ship out. So, you know, you can go. We are basically a clothing company. Zam Barrett Dialogue is my clothing brand, but for the last 6 weeks, we have completely stopped production in clothing and just focused on making masks.
Thank you, Zam. Next up, we're going to hear from Michael Nicholas from Does It Even Matter? Following that, we're going to close out with George Suggs from FVN Clothing, and then we're going to be open to questions from the press. Just a reminder to folks from the press before we hear from Michael, you can either raise your hand and we will unmute you for your question, or you can write in the chat.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Once again, thank you, Borough President Eric Adams, for hosting this and making this possible for us. My name is Michael Nicholas. I am one of the owners and founders of Does It Even Matter? We're a streetwear, New York City-based brand operating out of Brooklyn, New York, and out of Miami, Florida. We started our initiative as just trying to help frontline workers secure surgical masks and N95 masks from overseas initially. But then we started to get into some issues with customs, the items not being confiscated by FEMA and things of that nature. So we decided to try to limit that and try to focus on the civilians. So we just started a Mask for Mask initiative where we created a 2-layer cotton outer shell, mesh inside lining, and a polyfill mask to then sell as a 3-pack. And for every 3 packs that we sell, we can secure 50 of the surgical masks that we could then donate to frontline and healthcare workers. So that's been our initiative that we've converted into. And we don't have a huge factory. My wife and I would actually just open up. We were supposed to be opening up our retail store and restaurant this month, but we had to stop production and construction because of the COVID crisis. So we're just doing the best that we can out of the home, and even working with some of our friends and family to work out of their home to get stuff done in the capacity that we can. So any resources that are available or open up can help just help flatten the curve as well.
Thank you, Michael. And we're going to hear from George Suggs from FEN Clothing. And then after that, we're going to kick it back to the Borough President for closing remarks and then opening it up to the press.
Hi, good morning. I hope everyone can hear me. I want to thank the Borough President again just for gathering all the small businesses and manufacturers and factories. I just started as a clothing business about 6 years now. I recently started making the masks about 4 weeks because I saw the projections and the spread of the illness. I saw the necessity that masks were going to be needed, so I started developing and trial and error of different masks with filters. My mask uses MERV 13 filters, so it's supposed to filter out virus level particles. Right now, the mask wraps around. I also constantly make adjustments as clients allow me and tell me what they need to make it more secure for people to feel safe. And I know a lot of New Yorkers are still traveling through using public transportation. So I understand the necessity for containing the illness. Right now, people are ordering through my website or Instagram, which is FEN Clothing. We're shipping out just like previous manufacturers were saying, and that's been helpful. We're looking to partner with people and get grants as well to produce. Thank you.
And George, did you say where you were operating? I apologize.
Currently, right now, I'm producing right out of the home as much as I can, as fast as I can.
Great. Thank you, George. Appreciate it. We're going to go to Borough President with some closing remarks. As a reminder to the press, if you have a question, you can write into the chat or raise your hand. You should see an icon at the bottom of the screen that allows you to raise your hand, and I'll unmute you. But first, we're going to go back to the Borough President.
Thank you to all the manufacturers, and thank you, Jonah. And some very significant parts of what we are attempting to accomplish here. One, some of our manufacturers are operating out of their own homes. They're starting small businesses. This is how businesses should grow. Those who are in factories, they are hiring locally. And when you see that their employees are everyday essential employees, and by giving them the support they need, they will not only provide an important service to the city, but also deal with the real issue of employment. The third, which is extremely important, is that many of these manufacturers are Black and brown. The Black and brown community they have been hit the hardest from coronavirus. And so we need to pour resources into these communities to deal with the outcome of how do we recover from coronavirus. These small businesses being able to hire locally and being able to assist in rebuilding their community. Coronavirus does not discriminate, but policies have. The recovery cannot. And we cannot simply go to large manufacturers overseas or outside of the communities that have been hit the hardest. We need to go to these small businesses and allow these small businesses to be built up. Lastly, I don't know if you missed it, those of you who are the members of the media, just about every one of these distributors and manufacturers had some form of give back built into them. They want to help. They're not only looking as currency, they're looking at it as a crisis and how do they give back in a real way. That is what we're going to need. We're going to need people who are invested in the community and they see their customers as not only clients, but as their friends, families, and neighbors. And part of their business plan is to give back to our city as we recover from coronavirus. I cannot thank them enough for what they're doing. Let's be local in our investment. Now that we put out this order for everyone to wear a mask, let's create an orderly way of bringing the funding to these small businesses, and then we can achieve the goals that we're looking for, a financially healthy city and healthy New Yorkers at the same time. Thank you, Jonah. You could open for questions.
Okay, so folks, at this time, we're open to taking questions. I think I see a hand here from Neil. So I'm gonna unmute him and you can ask your question. Neil, we can't hear you. Apologies. We're having, oh, there you go. Can you repeat your question? You got cut off. We're still having trouble hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Now it's better. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yep.
so you guys know I publish a newsletter about arts and culture in Brooklyn, sent to thousands of subscribers via email, and I have switched, like just some of these mask manufacturers have made switches. I'm now writing about online events happening in Brooklyn since there are no more live events. But I would love to share this information there, and you have different manufacturers there. I love what they're doing. Different designs, the idea of a mask that could be washed, reused. This is wonderful. And I hope you could get all these different manufacturers and put them prominently on your website, the Borough President's website, collect their websites, their designs, their information, pricing, whatever. And maybe some of them actually, there's a way to sell them to the public from where they're doing business, maybe not. I mean, everyone has their own circumstances. And maybe just as quite a few restaurants are doing takeout business, that they're still allowed to stay open to do takeout, maybe Borough Hall can stock some of these masks and sell them at the regular cost, the same way they might be distributed by mail order. And it would just be, to have a one-spot supplier of masks that people could buy if they're so inclined to do it in person rather than by mail order. But certainly, at the very least, have all the information on your website of these wonderful different manufacturers. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. We appreciate that. And again, we want to remind folks, if you have a question for the Borough President, or feel free to write it in the chat, We have a question from Deborah that I'm going to open up to the Borough President and to other folks. How can someone who is producing a reusable mask become a supplier?
Number one, I would encourage those who are here to do a partnership with each other. I believe, as George mentioned, to cross collaborate, and you can just start from your home. As the Small Businesses Services of New York can be helpful with that. Greg Bishop is the chairman. If you go on our website, we'll make sure you get information on how to go about starting a small business and getting information from the small business services that can navigate you through the entire process.
Thank you. Any other questions from the press? Anyone else? Okay. Then with that, I think we're going to conclude. We want to thank, I'm going to have the Borough President say one more thing.
Yes, we encourage both the mayor and the governor to ensure they purchase a mask locally from one of these vendors or vendors in the area. Let's lead by example. Let's buy New York State. And so we're hoping in the next few days that the governor and the mayor is wearing one of the masks from one of these distributors or buying a mask locally. Let's buy locally and build the economy and make our city healthy again.
Thank you so much, Borough President. So folks, thank you to everyone who joined, to these manufacturers, to Joanne from Sunset Park as well. Housekeeping items, we will be sending out a link to this recording shortly so that members of the press, TV stations can use it for recordings. If anyone has any questions that were not answered here, they can contact me at 929-291-8881 or at my email, which is jonah.allon@brooklynbp.nyc.gov. But again, we want to thank everyone for joining and have a great rest of your day.